So this isn't really something I usually do, but today I figured I'd do something a little bit different on this channel. Vagabond is one of the best manga I've ever read, and it's become one of my favourites over the past years. But I wanted to make a video showing my appreciation for this series. In general, I just wanted to do a full collection video, a comprehensive, complete full video on the series and anything related to it. This is a really big project that I've been meaning to make for a long time now, so I'd appreciate it if you were to stick around and watch the full video. Of course, there will be timestamps of different segments of the video, so if there's something you want to watch specifically, you can watch that and you don't have to sit through some backstory or extra detail that I'm going to be going through here in this video. Miyamotomusashi is probably one of the most famous samurai in all of history. A real-life historical figure that the entire Vagabond series was based on. He was born in 1584 and died in 1645. And he wrote the Book of Five Rings before he passed away of natural causes / old age. He was also known as Shinmen Takuzo. Also, one of his most noticeable and famous acts in history was taking down the amazing samurai known as sasakikojiro. He also started the sword style Ninten Ichiru. So first up, we're going to be starting off with the Musashi Novel, the Book of Five Rings, the Samurai Trilogy. Then we'll be going on to the Vagabond Manga itself. Then finally, we'll be finishing up with the 4 Vagabond art books. Okay, so first we're going to be starting off with the Book of Five Rings, written by Miyamoto Musashi himself. Also, the Book of Five Rings is also known as Gorin no Sho. So I wanted to start this off in chronological order from oldest to most recent. And obviously, as the Book of Five Rings was written in Musashi's time, this obviously makes it the oldest book within this video. So because of this book's age, it's over 100 years old. The Book of Five Rings is obviously in the public domain, so anyone can make a translation or publish their own version of this book here. And obviously the Book of Five Rings was obviously 5 scrolls written by Musashi, each of them containing different elements, and it's all been put together within this one book here. Some of them will be about the way of the sword, others will be about technique and other schools, and there's quite a lot of philosophy in this, so there'll be a fair amount of philosophy within this as well. So if you're into martial arts and swordsmanship and philosophy and just need motivation, this book is really good for you. So as this is in the public domain, it does make it hard to find a good translation and a good cover that you don't mind having for your collection. I chose this version from the Overlook Press. This is an old New York print copy from the early 1900s. I don't know if it's the first English translation, but I do know it's one of the oldest ones, or one of the older ones, to be translated in English. Also, I got this just because it has such a nice cover design and has really good images that I think really benefit this book. So that's why when you try to look for the Book of Five Rings online, there'll be so many different translations and covers. It makes it really hard to find a good version of this. And here I do have a more modern and recent version of the Book of Five Rings. I believe this one's 2010, but this is a really good translation. This was actually translated by a really good karate master, and he spent his entire life studying about Musashi, so this is quite reliable as well, and it has a little bit more than just the Book of Five Rings. Overall, they are both basically the same, just worded a little bit differently in some certain aspects of the book. But of course I do own these versions that I do prefer over others in my personal experience. And if you're not much into reading, there is an audiobook for this, where someone can read it to you. Or there even is a weird manga based on this. So here we'll be going into the Overlook Press version first. So here's the cover. We've got a very nice drawing of Musashi here. And on the back we've got the blurb. And the back is very old and worn out. And here if we take the dust cover off, it's just a black plain cover with the title on the side. And I believe it's the same on the back. Yes, the exact same. Then obviously the side on the dust cover is the title again. But yeah, obviously there's some text on the sides here like we're used to. Translated by Victor Harris. Here we do have the contents, so it has the translator's introduction and the actual Book of Five Rings, Gorin no Sho. And then we do have a list of illustrations because there are images in this book. We've got a map of Japan, the translator's introduction. We've got some very nice images of katanas and armour. And of course all the images in this book are going to be in black and white because it's expensive to print in colour, and most books are printed in black and white anyway. Here we've got some really famous artwork of Musashi, like I'm sure if you look them up online you'll see these images but in colour. Same with this artwork here, this is obviously the front cover of this book, and is another really iconic drawing of Musashi, and even credits the artist. And here we have Musashi escaping out of a sauna because apparently someone tried to assassinate him by boiling him to death in a sauna. So that's Musashi in the centre there, and he's broken out and all these people were around the sauna. And here we have a weird like fictional depiction of him killing a lizard. And we do have a castle restored from where Musashi lived for several years as a guest. And we've got some more images of locations. We do have an ink drawing by Musashi himself here. We've got some more artwork by Musashi here. And quite a big image from him here. And another one that I'm sure you've seen online, this is quite a famous drawing by Musashi. And obviously I think these are all in colour if you look online, it's just these books have them in black and white. And we do have even more drawings by Musashi. So as you can tell, he is a very talented artist. So not only is he an amazing samurai with master swordsmanship, he's also an amazing artist. Oh, and here is a little wood sculpture carved by Musashi himself. Looks very cool. And then now obviously getting into the Book of Five Rings, Gorin no Sho. So we have the Book of Ground, Water, Fire, Wind and Void. Or in other translations known as Earth, Water, Fire, Wind and Heaven. So yeah, they're all pretty much exactly the same, only Heaven / Void and Ground / Earth are like the different translations for those words. And we do have a really nice Japanese text here as an image with big text of Musashi's writing himself, but obviously translated into English. And you do get these with each and every book. And I don't know if it's just me, but I really love the layout just of how this is all really presented. It's all nice and easy to read in small paragraphs, and each book has this as well. Here it talks about other schools and finally at the final book. Also this is like the shortest one as it's like one page here. Then at the very back here we do have a strange drawing of a weird fat bald guy with a beard. That's pretty much the end of this version. Obviously for consistency we're still going to go over this as well. So we have the Book of Five Rings up here. And then we have more writing here by Musashi, like this contains a little bit extra than Gorin no Sho. It has other works Musashi wrote on. Unfortunately this book here doesn't have any images to look at. It is all just text with paragraphs. It is all nicely laid out as well. And just like in the other book, the Book of Heaven is also obviously the shortest one. But to make up for not having any images, we do have the text preceding the Gorin no Sho, and it does talk about other extra details. And I believe all this other extra stuff is written by Musashi when he was a bit younger, as obviously the Book of Five Rings was written when he was an old man, just before he was about to die. But that will cover my section of the Book of Five Rings, Gorin no Sho, and now moving on to the Musashi Novel. So here is the original Musashi Novel by Eiji Yoshikawa. And here we do have a picture of Musashi. He is looking a lot older here, so I believe this image is later on during his life. And here's the back. This is the side. So it does have a dust cover here, so if you take it off, I'll show you here. This is the insides of it, where it gives a big description here. This is the full dust cover. And this is the Musashi Novel without the dust cover. And the side. And the back with nothing on it. One nice detail I did notice is that all the segments of the book is all named after the Book of Five Rings. So here we have Earth, Water, Fire, Wind, and instead of Void or Heaven, this one's called Sky. Then we have extras, Sun and Moon, the Perfect Light. And then before the actual story itself, we have a bit of an introduction of who Miyamotomusashi is, and probably a lot better of a summary than I gave in the beginning of my video. And then this is actually where the story starts, here. Yeah, and that's basically the entire book. Pages and pages and pages of text on really thin paper. At the back it's pretty much the same, but there is all this extra information here about Japanese culture and the language guide and all this extra stuff, which is always nice to include with big books about Japanese culture. So all of this does have 984 pages, and this was published in 1939. And obviously this is the main inspiration for the Samurai Trilogy and the Vagabond Manga. This is in different formats, so you can listen to this through the audiobook, but I got it physically just because I like collecting. But yeah, that's all I'm really going to say and go through with this, because it would be a really long and tedious, boring video if I was just sit here and read this entire novel on video. Next I'll be showing the Samurai Trilogy, which consists of 3 movies. The first movie is called Musashi Miyamoto, the second movie is called Duel at the Ichijoji Temple, and the third movie is called Duel at Ganryu Island. We've got Musashi with a load of samurai surrounding him. On the back we've got like contents of what's on these Blu-rays. So here we do have 2 Blu-ray discs. It has the first 2 movies on the first disc, and on the second disc is the third and final movie of the trilogy. It does bother me a little bit that 2 of them are on one Blu-ray and the other is on just one. It would have been nice that each movie gets a Blu-ray disc each. And here I'll be showing off the manual as well. So here's the front, here's the back. So it shows the 3 movies, the contents of what you want to look for on each page, and there are the chapters of each movie. We have a list of the cast members, the credits, so that'll be like the lighting, sound and editing and music, etc. There's some amazing artwork here. So it talks about how the trilogy are basically 1950s movies. The first one is 1954, the second one is 1955, and the final movie is 1956. Some more text. So also here talks about the Book of Five Rings, and even having a little bit of the Book of Five Rings within the manual, which is pretty cool. And this is the end of the manual here. So yeah, it's very cool. So of course the Samurai Trilogy is obviously based off the full Musashi Novel, and both of these have the full complete story, and it's all wrapped up quite nicely, while Vagabond is still an unfinished story, which I'll go into in just a bit. So now we're getting into the main part of the video, the Vagabond volumes. Obviously, as you know, if you're here to watch my video about Vagabond, you obviously know it's a seinen manga that came out in 1998. This series has got a lot of reputation recently, like a lot of people might know it from the big three seinen manga. Other people might know it from these motivational quotes and images online that go floating around online with calm, chilled out music, like in this video. How I personally got into it was not the same way though. I can't remember what year or how long ago, but I remember finding these two panels here of the manga, and that really got me interested, and that's how I picked it up. I got into the series just by finding these two cool artwork panels. I can't even remember where I saw it from, I just found it and then I researched into the series, and here we are today. So in this video I will be showing off all of the Viz Big editions, not the standalone single volumes. Though the only single volume I will be getting to is volume 37. So for those who don't know what a Viz Big is, they're basically big 3-in-1 omnibus editions. So for example here, this volume 1 Viz Big contains up to volumes 1, 2 and 3. This Viz Big volume 2 contains up to volumes 4, 5 and 6. Volume 3 contains up to 7, 8 and 9. Continuing from that pattern, the volume 12 Viz Big, the last one, goes from volumes 34, 35 and 36, while volumes 37 is the only one to not be in an omnibus edition. So to finish off where the story left off, you'd have to get volume 37 separately on its own. So when I say that, it's because this series started in 1998, but it's been on hiatus since 2015, and the story's not finished and it's not continued. So Vagabond is written and drawn by Takehikoinoue. In the past he's worked on other manga. More of his other noticeable works are Real and Slam Dunk. Also unrelated, but I really like this volume cover of Slam Dunk here. Also I will say, if you're not a native Japanese speaker, I would definitely recommend writing down all the names and locations in Vagabond, because foreign names and locations can sound very confusing and you can lose track of who you're talking about or how to pronounce certain things. So keep that in mind if you're not big on the Japanese language. So like before, this manga is based off the Musashi Novel, and it does go through the same plot points that novel and the Samurai Trilogy movie goes through. Though this manga does have differences to the original story and does have original character interpretations and arcs, which makes this manga very unique and gives a nice original insight to the story. So if you already know the story from the novel or the movies, then there's some elements in this manga series that you'll be quite surprised by. I will be going through all the volumes, but obviously I'm not going to go into too much depth because that will make the video way too long for what it is. So each Viz Big doesn't have a dust jacket or anything. It's the same cover as what you get, it just folds out a bit into a nice image. Same with the back. So some of the pages here are actually coloured, but most of it is all black and white like standard manga tradition. So the beginning of the story goes throughout Takezo's life before he becomes Musashi, and how the village perceives him as this beast, this demon, who's really powerful and talented for what he is, but he's only a warrior with no true purpose. So here we get the first bit of insight to his character development, where he becomes a new person, and he changes his name to the name we all know, Miyamotomusashi. So I will say it is a little bit of a slow start, but I think volume 3 is where it really picks up. This is what really got me into the series, this volume here. So Miyamoto Musashi comes to this village to try and make a name for himself. So he wants to take down this Yoshikawa school and become a famous known samurai. And he enters the school and challenges all the students, but basically defeats everyone, and he even kills some of them just with his wooden bokken. But where it really picks up is where the two siblings who basically own this school challenge Musashi himself. And it really does build up the hype, because all these powerful samurai are basically fighting it out, but all these fights get interrupted. Musashi even destroys this wine as a kind gesture to leave, and to really show demonstration of this guy's abilities, he slices Musashi's bokken and slices his forehead. And I really like this because Musashi keeps this scar for the rest of the story, and it's one of those manga where if you have a scar it stays forever, and it's or a really long time even, and it's just really cool just to see all that. And I believe this is Denshiro. He is the sibling of that samurai Musashi was hoping to challenge, and obviously they have a fight and it obviously gets interrupted and it gets postponed, so they plan on having a rematch later on in the story, and it's really amazing. And this is this volume 3 part, and this is what really sets the stakes up high and really makes you excited for what's yet to come in the story. Yeah, so we do have more here, where we get introduced to this monk called Inshin, and Musashi's trying to challenge him because he's also very powerful. And he has to get taught by this old sensei, and this is an arc that does go out through multiple volumes here. And one of the fights is just them standing still for ages, staring at each other to see who the first one to break down to nerves is. And we do get introduced to some characters like Jotaro. He is a young boy who wishes to learn under Musashi and become a samurai himself. Musashi's childhood friend, Matahachi, he's like a complete failure. He was going to be an amazing samurai like Musashi, but he's just this sorry drunk who always lies and pretends to be people who he's not just to get far in life. And yeah, he whinges throughout the entire manga, which is kind of a shame because realistically he's probably one of the most relatable characters for quite a lot of people, because I imagine everyone always imagines themselves as Musashi, but in real life, if you don't have the motivation or the determination to work hard, you kind of end up like him, sad and wishing you were doing better in life, watching your friends progress. You do sometimes get a few glimpses of Musashi's father throughout the story. I believe he's dead though, but he's supposedly very powerful. Yeah, Musashi's father here is basically like the negative thoughts and past trauma Musashi has from getting beaten from his dad. And you also do follow along with Otsu as well. He's also Musashi's childhood friend, but later becomes more of a love, romantical interest for him throughout the story. Yeah, here's a better picture of her here. There's also Shoho Takan, the monk, who is sort of like, is basically like a spiritually advisor slash helper who guides Musashi along the way whenever he needs help or to rethink some things. Yeah, he is very spiritual and does influence Musashi along the way every now and then. In the Vizbig Volume 4, I really do like here how Musashi steps on like a nail in some wood, and He really goes into thinking about different senseis and amazing samurai who probably wouldn't have stepped on the nail, and what he could have done to become better and reach a point where he's better. He even climbs this massive, huge mountain, and it's super high up. He does all this hard work, and he finally makes it to the top, and is exhausted. Then he takes a good look of the view from on top, only to realise he's on the smaller mountain with even bigger ones around him, which is symbolism for him defeating a really tough opponent who he's only just overcome, but there's all these stronger, more powerful opponents he's yet to challenge. And I really love the symbolism for this here. So here in Viz Volume 5 and 6 and 7, it goes over the sasakikojiro childhood arc, where it basically gives the childhood backstory to Sasakikojiro. And this is quite a long one, because that's 8 volumes all to this character's childhood. Because here 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, 19 and 20, it all goes over that one long arc. And then obviously volume 21 of this volume is when we get the focus back on Miyamotomusashi after this long arc. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the first Vagabond original arc away from the original novel, because I don't think the original goes over all the Sasakikojiro childhood stuff. One thing I really do like in Vagabond is how they really changed up Kojiro's character a bit, because in the novel and the movie he's a really talented samurai who basically challenges Musashi at the very end of the movie and book, but in this he's deaf. Yeah, Vagabond makes him a deaf, mute character, so he can't hear anyone, he can't talk because he never learned to talk since he's been deaf at birth. So his only means of communicating is through the sword and writing really easy and simple letters on paper or sand. So after all this Musashi stuff, challenging another warrior, and we learn about Kojiro's adoptive father, who basically takes him in because he was just a baby who was abandoned and had this massive sword with him. And you kind of learn all about him just growing up and seeing what he's like, and I really do like this whole backstory behind him because it really makes him impactful as a character. He plays all the kids on the beach, and he's just this naturally talented, amazing fighter even as a kid without much training, and you learn how he makes all these friends as a kid. And there's obviously this psycho in the village who's trying to kill people, and Sasakikojiro's adoptive father basically refuses to teach him the way of the sword, but Kojiro obviously doesn't listen, no pun intended. Here we get more about him when he gets older, and he basically learns the sword regardless anyway, and he grows older and stronger and meets more characters and travels along the way. We also get introduced to a famous and powerful samurai known as Itosai. He is one of the strongest characters in this series, honestly. Yeah, he's a very cool character as well. Yeah, he's a great character. But yeah, we learn how Kojiro basically chops off some of his fingers during a 1v1 duel. But yeah, they also travel along with this guy, I can't remember him. And we have Itosai obviously doing a woman. And we also get a bit of backstory to how Kojiro first meets Musashi, back before he even is Musashi in the battle at the very beginning of the manga, which is a really nice detail. And it's just really cool just to see their backstory. And this is the panel I was talking about, the one that really got me into the series. Yeah, and finishing up Kojiro's backstory here, his whole arc, we finally get back to Musashi in volume 21. We also get a little bit of foreshadowing, a flash forward to Musashi vs Denshiro that happens not too much longer after this volume. But yeah, we just get a reintroduction to Musashi and his training and what's going to be happening in the next arc. And the cliffhanger for this volume is Musashi obviously getting to get a chance to fight the more powerful Yoshikawa brother, because he doesn't want his brother to die in the duel, and Musashi is obviously not going to back down, neither is his brother, so the more powerful one is fighting first, and this is just what Musashi wanted. It's a very cool fight, like, especially when you've been reading for like such a long time, you're already waiting for this battle to happen. It finally happened and it's epic. Yeah, the cliffhanger is if Musashi's killed him or not, and obviously he has. But anyway, continuing from the death of Seijiro Yoshikawa, Musashi emerges victorious. And obviously the entire town learns of Seijiro's death, and Musashi finally builds a name for himself. He's now this big threat that everyone knows of, and this kind of makes him like a really famous samurai. And obviously the entirety of the Yoshikawa school is very angry at Musashi. And Matahachi here meets Kojiro, and obviously Matahachi, being his usual lazy self, he tries to tag along with Kojiro's success by pretending to be the only person who can talk to him and understand him, when realistically Kojiro doesn't really need him. He's just trying to join in on someone else's success instead of making his own. And obviously in this volume, Musashi finally meets Kojiro for the first time, which is a really nice aspect of Vagabond. Is Takehiko made Musashi and Kojiro friends. They sort of have this bond they create together. And some really funny, light-hearted scenes here. Just really seeing their interaction for the first time is really something. And it obviously inspires Musashi to do better, because he knows how amazing Kojiro really is. And we finally get a bit more build up to the duel between Musashi and the other Yoshikawa brother, Donshiro. The Viz Big Volume 9 is probably one of the best in the series. Like, a lot of people really like this volume, and so do I, for obvious reasons. The duel finally comes to an end and Musashi kills the final Yoshikawa brother, which really sets off the Yoshikawa school into wanting to jump Musashi out of nowhere. All 70 students versus Musashi at once. And it is a really intense battle. It's really amazing. Just one by one, Musashi is taking down each and every one. And obviously all 70 of these Yoshikawa students are trained samurai. They're not just average fighters. They are pretty skilled in their own right. And this entire Musashi versus 70 Yoshikawa students battle is original to the Vagabond manga, as it's not in the movie or... Though I will say, Musashi taking on 70 trained samurai, I will say is fabricated for the manga and a bit over-exaggerated, because realistically it would be impossible for someone to take down 70 men all at once, taking them all down in one strike. But hey, it's good for the manga and really amazing artwork and story, so who really cares, right? Musashi finally makes out alive, and he does come out with a few injuries that does somewhat cripple him for a good majority of the story. Musashi does rest up a bit in the care for Otsu and some people who do offer to look after him. Though for killing 70 students, Musashi does get arrested. Musashi at least gets a bit of time to recover while he's locked up, and he's not really held prisoner horribly. It's more of a protection thing. But yeah, Musashi does go through some more character development and growth here, which is really nice, where he thinks about his future and his plans and what he wants, and he gets to heal up and recover. And we do get a lot more sasakikojiro storyline of where he's at, and he's joining an army where people are treating him like an executive, and he goes sailing on a boat. Yeah, Musashi still wishes to be better and improve his swordsmanship, and he does obviously have, and this is the iconic part of the manga where Musashi is told that he's become a kinder person and all kind people are strong. Musashi leaves the prison and goes and travels again to be a vagabond, just like he's always been. And throughout Musashi's travelling, he gets random samurai challenge him, and he draws a circle around him, warning them that if they leave, he'll let them live, but if they enter his circle, he'll have no choice but to kill them. Musashi and Itosai finally meet up, and Itosai wishes to duel Musashi, because he's very interested in how he took down 70 men. And we do get a lot of this recently, like this is supposedly meant to be like the narcissism and rage and negativity of the warrior. Musashi still has a little bit, but Itosai here is fully engrossed with the beast within him. We have some really cool panels here. And Musashi here really does look up to Itosai because he wants his approval, because he's also a really famously well-known samurai. So Musashi is a little bit disappointed that Itosai thinks of Musashi as a disappointment for speaking so philosophical. Musashi realises that invincible is just a word and he has no reason to fight. But that doesn't matter because Itosai still wishes to fight regardless and tries to attack. Musashi still lands in a strike just before Itosai shoves Musashi away. Again, one of the two manga panels that really got me into the Vagabond series. So Itosai basically tells Musashi that Kojiro is still stronger, which really does build up the hype for if this manga will ever return. And Itosai is still recovering from his wounds from what Musashi did to him, and he's still remembering the chopped off fingers Kojiro gave to him. This is also one of my most favourite panels of the manga. It's just so amazingly beautiful. So Musashi trains some more in the forest, and obviously there's some samurai here who are interested in having Musashi fight for them and train them and have him on their side. There is a lot of Buddhist philosophy and beliefs in this manga, but that makes sense because these are samurai and they were all believing in the Buddhist religion during this time. From this, Musashi continues to travel on and try to improve on himself and rid of his narcissism, while Kojiro is basically beating up and showing off his abilities to other people who tried to challenge him. In this final Viz Big edition, we do enter the farming arc, where Musashi finds an old rundown farm village and tries to restore it as they're all starving from hunger, and Musashi wishes to put down the sword, pretend to be Takezo again, and spends at least an entire year on the farm. Yeah, this is a very different arc compared to the rest of the series, and again, this is an original Vagabond only arc. Oh yeah, this is the damage Musashi receives on his leg. So that's really put him in a handicapped position when he was fighting previously after the 70 Yoshikawas. But yeah, this is a very different arc because it's very chilled out and calm, and it's a very character development-y arc, and it's really something different. It's the Inside I Am Infinite panel. This is to show this isn't some narcissism thing, this is some more philosophy to show that he has infinite potential and growth, so for all eternity he can try to improve and get better. Obviously the villagers figure out he's Musashi and he has to drop the Takezo name. But he just enjoys himself on the farm, he forgets about everything and just really wants a chilled out life and focuses on helping the village not to starve, despite all the villagers trying to push him away, especially the old man on the farm who's really stingy with all of his crops. Though while he's trying to work on the farm, there are some samurai who keep trying to attack the village and other samurai who wish to recruit Musashi despite him saying no, and they just won't take no for an answer. They just keep asking Musashi for him to join them. Yeah, a lot of people really like this farming arc, and I can understand why some people might be put off from it, as it's not action heavy at all compared to the rest of the manga, but it's still a really nice chilled out arc and a nice break from all the action for once. And the village is starving, so Musashi is desperately trying to save them because nothing's growing, and Musashi finally comes to ask for help from the samurai who are trying to recruit him. And we finally get to the final volume here. So all these single one editions of Vagabond are quite rare and hard to come by, so quite often it'll be a lot easier just to go through all the Viz Bigs, the 3-in-1s. But volume 37 specifically is probably the most rare because it's not in any Viz Bigs and you can't read it in any other format than a single volume. So that obviously makes this the most rare, and it's the only volume to not be in a Viz Big because there's no volume 38 or there's no volume 39, it's just 37. And this was released in 2015, so as far as Vagabond's concerned, this is technically the end, or just where it left off before the long hiatus. It just finishes up the entirety of the farm arc, and then Musashi gets help from the samurai and decides to go with them as payment, and he saves the village from starvation, and he goes to this location to join them. So Musashi is joining an army, an opposite side to where Kojiro is joining. So we'll be entering the final arc after this farming arc, and a lot of people theorise that Vagabond is in its final arc and it will be about 100 or more than 100 chapters until the series is completely finished, so we are very close to the end. And I believe the big battle for the next arc will be Musashi versus Kojiro. But unfortunately, like I said, the manga ends here for now, and it has been since 2015. So hopefully if the manga ever comes back, that's where we'll be picking off. Oh yeah, online there are like 4 or 5 chapters that aren't in any volumes. Like, you can only ever read it online. It's the beginning of the next arc, the 10th arc. And as there's not enough chapters to be in a main volume, it sadly never got ready published to be volume 38. So if you want to read those chapters, you can only ever read them online. So yeah, as far as the physical volumes go, this is the end. But if you want to read a little bit past the farming arc, there are those chapters online, until obviously that got stopped for the big long hiatus. And finally, I'm going to be going over the 4 Vagabond art books. First we'll be going over Water, next we'll be going over Sumi, then last but definitely not least we'll be going over the 2 final exhibition art books, the Crescent Moon and the Full Moon. So first off, the art book of Water. I'm assuming by the title it's going to mean watercolour paint, so this is a very colourful book with watercolours. So yeah, here's the cover, and here's the back. Now I'm going to show you with the dust cover taken off, because it does make one big image here. So when you do take off the dust cover, it does make a big image of Musashi's face, with the front cover without the dust cover just being all blue, saying water at the top, and saying the name of the artist, with the back being just plain blue, and same with the side. Just start off with a close-up of Musashi's lips, and then different sketches of characters, with a X-ray looking image here, even though it's not X-ray, it just sort of looks like it, with a lovely picture of a paintbrush and a city. And there might not be too much to say here, as this is literally just images and nothing really else to say, but figured every now and then I might give a bit of, might talk over and mention something of the art I like, or just randomly ramble as I go through each page. This is all very amazing because, as you know, the mangaka obviously does paint and draw every single panel and cover. He is not a digital artist, he's very traditional. And these are just really cool, like, I'm loving every single one of these. Like, a lot of these would make great profile pictures, great poster banners. And it's really nice to see that each character gets a chance to shine in this art book. Like, it just shows a bit of everyone, really. I believe this is Sasakikojiro when he was younger. Yeah, Sasakikojiro as a child as well, and his adoptive father figure, who I've forgotten the name of. I found this quite funny. It's just a label for a water bottle, just painted in here, just because it's funny. Musashi is like ripped here. Yeah, this is all really cool. This is like one of my favourite drawings of Musashi, one of my 3 most favourite images of him. This is the volume 3 volume cover. Yeah, these are all obviously prints and images of the artwork. It's not going to be exactly his artwork, because that would make this much more valuable and much more rare if it was from the hand of the artist. So of course when you fill the pages they're all very shiny and glossy. This is just so cool. And hopefully you get a good glimpse of the insides of these when I go through them all, because this is artwork that needs to be seen by everyone here. And it's pretty funny to see like more than just Vagabond stuff. Like, it's got like other characters from different manga that takehikoinoue has made. Yeah, this book is very creaky, I've noticed. It's all very beautiful, and I'm probably going to be saying this quite a lot because there's only certain ways you can just describe perfection like this. This is a very cool image of Sasuke here. I'm trying to go throughout each and individual page here just because I really want to show it all off to you. And the blood just looks so much more realistic, probably because it's like water paint colour and blood is obviously water. Another one of my most favourite pictures of Musashi here. And this is a very cool picture of Musashi here. Yeah, my arms are starting to ache a little bit having to hold this massive art book. And then obviously at the back we've got all the print numbers and different pages. With a little wasp. There we go. Okay, so next we have Sumi. Sumi is basically a black Japanese ink that is often used for drawing and painting. So that's sort of self-explanatory about what's going to be in this art book. So here we have the front and the back, and we're going to take off the dust cover here because it does reveal a full image. So here it's got a big image of Musashi, followed along by the top of Musashi's head, the spine with text in the middle. And obviously the Sumi book without the dust cover looks like this, all just grey, with nothing on the back, and just grey spine, with a lovely red inside this time, with the dust cover image on the inside here. And a picture of Musashi from the dust cover as well. And obviously here it does show a Sumi art brush with a line just of ink just being drawn around. So this does have very cool images as well. This is more of the insides of the manga rather than the outside, like the water art book. Yeah, and as you can see, you probably recognise quite a lot of these images from the actual manga itself. Like, this is all definitely from the manga, it's just panels that have been made bigger and given more. Like, some of these already were big panels that take up multiple pages, or one full page, but obviously not all of them, so some of them are going to be smaller panels that don't get much of a good view, so this book gives each and every panel a chance to shine. Just all those small minor details that you can easily pick up here. You can really take in the artwork of this amazing manga. And this is the front cover of the Viz Big Volume 1, and I really do like how it's on red paper but with black ink. And it's really amazing because you can close in and see each and every individual line here. And you can tell Takehikoinoue is obviously spent hours and some time just perfecting his art and giving each and every character, every panel, the attention it deserves. Yeah, just from the amount of detail from all this art, it really does go to show and explain why Vagabond has had so many hiatuses. Like, detail to every drawing would really strain your hands, your mental health, so it's quite natural for the mangaka to need to take some breaks every now and then. Like, I'm just here complaining about my arm aching just by holding the book, showing it all to the camera. But imagine the arthritis and the pain every mangaka would have just by drawing like this. There's purple page here. Just looks just like the manga, just all these panels within the book. All these different angles and expressions of the characters that are drawn as well, which is pretty nice. Nice big blue page there, with some lovely red pages. Just more character art. Yeah, loads of different styles and types of drawing with the ink here. This is a very cool image, like Musashi on the battlefield. Oh yeah, it's his Inshin, the monk. And Musashi getting kicked in the face by Inshin after he avoids the bow staff blow. I really do like this drawing of sasakikojiro here, it just looks so cool. Oh, and we have a thing here, a little flyer here. How did he draw? 28th November on DVD. Interesting little flyer. Ah, I see, it's got all these different little pictures of the DVD of how the artist Takehikoinoue drew the manga. And Musashi's father here, a very powerful samurai. A rabbit or a hare being hunted by a little boy. And I think this is one of these sculptures Musashi carves out from wood. Very good moments, and sasakikojiro learning how to write in the sand, write in Japanese. There's a little mini panels of facial expressions, all in blue. Japanese writing on a wall. Whoa, loads of pictures of the drawings all piled up on top of each other. Musashi, or Musashi when he's younger. Oh, this is a nice little joint picture here. Oh, this is cute. That's quite funny. Bright yellow pages. Ah yes, one of my favourite panels that got me into the series were yet again. Well, this is kind of cool. It's like all dark and misty. Those are people Musashi is having to push through. Here we have a bit of nudity. Very cool Japanese buildings, Musashi painting or writing. Ah yes, the snowman scene. This is a very funny moment in the manga. Oh wow, and picture of inside, I guess, the studio the mangaka worked in. Japanese writing. All the ink and paints he used and everything in the studio. And all the notes at the back and numbers of the images. A little beetle at the end. That is this book. And now finally, but definitely not least, we go on to the final exhibition art books. And both of these are very unique and special in their own right. They are probably my most favourite art books in the collection, just because of how unique and special they are. And these were sold around about the time where Vagabond had its final exhibition, as said in the title. So first off, we're going to start with the Crescent Moon art book. So here we have the title, it says Crescent Moon, and obviously a drawn image of a crescent moon, that's all white. And then the back is nothing but plain white. So first up we have Miyamotomusashi postcard. There's a really lovely drawing here of Musashi. Takehikoinoue, the last manga exhibition. And obviously you can write on here, obviously I'm not going to, this is like very special, so I'll keep this in its case. And here we have a drawing of a crescent moon. And here it says the last exhibition, and it's, wow, 2008, very long time ago. And it shows the museum that this exhibition took place in, with more Japanese text. And a lovely landscape image in black and white. And it starts off with a few manga panels. Before it ends with this being the final panel. And we have some photos. Yeah, a lot of this book here is just a lot of photos. So we have Takehikoinoue doing painting. And this is like a really big canvas, like I'm sure you've seen the video online of him doing painting on the wall, and yeah, you can really tell how big the image is from that video alone. There's more lovely photos and Japanese text. And we do have some English text here if you want to read some of that. And I believe that some of this artwork got sold, so you can probably buy some of that for yourself. And there's lots of drawings laid out on the floor for people to see. And some rough sketches from the manga, which is really always nice to see. This is really cool, like a layout of the museum and where everything's going to go. Behind the scenes. So if you're quite into art and art galleries and traditional art, this section, or this book even, is probably very much for you. I'm just going to quickly skim through. I believe all this text is, all the text down here, so if you want to give all that a read, if you can pause the video, then you're welcome to. With interviews, which is always cool. With loads of collages of more images, which is really nice. Oh, this is a nice picture. Now for the main part of the Crescent Moon book, which I was most excited for. There's actual hand drawings by Takehikoinoue himself, signed and everything. This is very thin paper, as you can see very closely. This is all pencil hand drawn. If you've got like a rubber or an eraser, you could literally remove it yourself, but not that you'd want to, you'd be crazy. But yeah, this is really amazing stuff here. This is my favourite part. You can see each and every individual pencil stroke. And it really is something to see this in person yourself. Like, not just scans, but actual pencil hand drawings in person. And it's just so cool just to see how the manga is made from behind the scenes. And as you probably saw, some of the drawings do have like red ink text from notes, which is really nice. Really does show all the detail and all the little extras to this. That is how the Crescent Moon book ends. Of course, all these drawings here are just storyboarding for what is yet to come in this full moon book here. And now onto the final exhibition full moon art book. This is a very special art book because this is actually kind of a manga in a weird way. It's like a lot of people consider this the ending of Vagabond, of how it officially ends, because this is set right near the end after all of the Vagabond stuff has ended, even after the manga isn't completely finished itself. So we'll go into it. So we have the front cover, we have the back, we have the full moon here, and here we have the date and location again. So starting off outside the museum here, with more photos. And just to mention, there are translations for this online, so if you want to read the manga online, you can find it on pirated manga sites, or at the very back there are translations which I'll go over after going through this manga. So it starts off with a picture of Musashi. And the way this manga is done is really unique. It mixes between manga panels and images from the gallery. So it starts off as a girl who's chasing someone, but he appears behind her. So this is as far as we got in the Crescent Moon book. But the story continues. So it goes on to tell these people, talk about Musashi and his way of killing. And this young girl here admires Musashi. And she goes on a quest to go look for him, the legendary samurai, Miyamoto Musashi. But as you see, as the readers, we finally get to see this is Musashi as an old man. This is him at the very end of his story. She travels to the mountain old man Musashi is resting at. This is him in all his glory. Probably, arguably, the strongest and most skilled version of Musashi in the entire series, and probably the same with the most powerful and skilled character as well. And she basically wants to become Musashi's last and final disciple before he passes away. She wants to learn from him. And she's remembering Jotaro from someone wanting to be his student. And Musashi's basically getting old pains here from just being really old. When the mysterious man from the beginning appears. And we learn at Inshin from the very beginning of the series. So the two of them finally reunite after all these years. And they're getting along pretty well, they're just greeting each other. And Musashi, still being an old man, he's just resting his final hours because this is moments before he dies of old age. And here we have the Book of Five Rings. Musashi has finished writing them in this part of the story. And Musashi's just meditating and resting. And she even tries to test Musashi here, but he just catches the sword with a stick, with his eyes closed, completely calm. And it's really impressive to see that much skill. And even this girl here is just surprised and amazed by, and she just kind of talks to him and relaxes with him, just getting to know him a little bit. Musashi starts to get some flashbacks from when he was younger, and also there is a big extended image here that folds out, and it's really amazing. And this seems to be a very philosophical thing here. It's not Musashi holding an energy ball, it's just he's envisioning and feeling something within him. As you know, Vagabond is all about philosophy. And just memories of Musashi when he was younger. And just other moments in the manga that have happened during Vagabond's time. One of the old senseis who trained Musashi back when he was trying to fight Inshin. And Musashi turns around and sees another one of his past opponents who he killed. Another amazing sensei who passes away during the series. And just giving a little nod and a reminder to everyone in the series. But yeah, unfortunately Musashi collapses. Musashi sees his old senseis who are walking in the distance. So right now, right here, he's literally getting life flashing before his eyes, in a weird sense. And this image here also folds out. It's just a huge line of people walking. This is a really sweet moment here. Musashi of Otsu. And a bit of Musashi's father here. Because he was a big part of Musashi's life growing up. Even though we never really get to see him during the actual series, only in flashbacks. More fold out images here. Young Musashi with his father behind him. And a little flashback of Musashi's mother, who we never really even get to see in the series. Or at least I believe that this is Musashi's mother. It's not officially confirmed. But yeah, it's really cool to see the next few panels is kind of like this, in a weird way. And here, finally, get to see the one and only Sasakikojiro visiting Musashi on the beach. And this is officially how it ends. Musashi and Kojiro meet on the beach and walk off into the distance, which is presumably the afterlife together. Then it's got the final date here. Then at the very end it's got all the translations for every text box. So if you wish, you can read through all these now and here, or, which might be a lot easier for you, is to just look it up online, find a pirate manga site to read a translation on, even though, just warning you, the scans won't be very good. And then finally, just people's thoughts and opinions on the series and talking about the exhibition, how they enjoyed it, which is always nice to see. With more interviews and behind the scenes. Yeah, it's all pretty much the same stuff as in the Crescent Moon book, with more image numbers. That's the end. Though of course, mentioning the Crescent book, this is what I meant by this being the storyboards and behind the scenes of the final exhibition manga chapter in this book. Because if you remember, these are all the same images from what I was showing you. The loads of people walking, the part of Musashi's father, Musashi's mother, and meeting Kojiro on the beach. It's all the same. But yeah, that is the Crescent Moon and Full Moon. So some people do call this the official canon ending of Vagabond, which I personally disagree on, because sure, you can go from here to here, but you're missing out a huge chunk of story here, from Musashi killing Sasakikojiro and the ending of the manga. Well, this is more of like an epilogue to once you finish reading the manga itself. So if you do want to see how it finishes, you can read the novel after the manga and then go to this. But then again, this is the entirety of the story, so it really doesn't matter. But yeah, that is my 100% complete and comprehensive video of Vagabond and somewhat Miyamoto Musashi. I really did want to go over everything, just so this is a nice, huge collective video you can just come for knowledge and learn about the series and other media related to it. And of course, one day, I really do hope that Vagabond will return and the manga can get a full proper finish and ending that it deserves, and that would truly be amazing. Of course, if it was ever to return, that would completely make this video out of date, because I'd have to make either a part 2 or an update video, which I would plan on doing if Vagabond ever did return. Thank you all very much for watching this. This has been a huge project for me and something I wanted to do for a while. I've put a lot of time and effort into this video. It's taken months to make and hours to edit, and now this is officially my longest video on the channel. This is an entire hour-long video. I would love to do more stuff like this in future, but I can't promise it'll be very often because these do take a very long time to make. But if you do want me to go over and cover more and full, detailed collections and more comprehensive videos, please let me know. But yeah, that will be for me, and thank you so much if you really did make it to the end of this video, like a full watch, no stop, because I don't expect anyone to make it this far. This is a really long video, but yeah, let me know in the comments if you made it this far. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.